Who in their right mind would want to do lunch indoors on what is going to be one of the most hottest days of the year, I think? Didn't I say 33 degrees today? Thank you if you're having a virtual lunch with us. Welcome along. Put on by Digital Beans. This is Let's Do Lunch. I'm Ben Pearce. I've got two amazing guests on the show today who I'm going to introduce you to in a bit. And we're going to be talking around digitally engaging with your consumers. If you're a small business, especially if you've got a brick and mortar store, now is definitely the time to be making sure that you are in the heart of your community when it comes to digital. And we'll be talking as well to one of our guests a little bit about her business has had to change and alter to the digital world during lockdown as well. A little bit later on, we'll have our 90-second tip for you. Josh, one of our account managers, is going to be on with me towards the end of the show, and we're going to be talking and he'll be demonstrating how you can save time when writing copy for your Facebook ads. We're talking a lot at the moment about social media ads. I think a lot of businesses are looking to jump on social media platforms to advertise and invest a little bit of money. Last week we spoke about how you can have a look and see what money you'd need to spend and start up some Facebook advertising. Today we're going to talk about how you can really refine and save time with that copy if you're looking to DIY it and do it yourself. First note of action, please hit subscribe. Get in the YouTube comments if you want to ask any of our guests a question. And we're at Digital Beans UK on Twitter if you want to send us a tweet. Right. Let's introduce you to our virtual lunchers, as we like to call them, on that virtual sofa with us. Edd Withers. Ed is a digital communities consultant, formerly working on Canterbury Pride. He's also worked around the City Sound projects as well for a number of years. His heart is within the community in Canterbury, and he is the founder of the Canterbury Residents Group on Facebook, which has been offering residents and businesses alike a helping hand during the pandemic. Ed, let's come to you first, mate. I mean, I know you're heavily involved with the Canterbury community, but tell us a little bit about Edd Withers as a professional. What does being a digital communities consultant involve, and what are some of the exciting things that you've been working on during lockdown?
Hi, Ben. First of all, thanks for having me on. Real pleasure to be with you here today, alongside Rachel. Yeah, well, I mean, so digital communities has come out of social media. Social media is where digital communities live and where they take place. I mean, I started life, the sort of business life, as a social media consultant. I was of that era that kind of just, by virtue of our age and the kind of the zeitgeist that we jumped onto, MySpace and Bebo and that kind of stuff, kind of social media, before we even really knew what it was called, was sort of part of our daily lives. And so, about 10, maybe a little bit longer years ago, I started helping businesses out, creating their Facebook pages and creating their Twitters, and pretty standard stuff now that's become a real market full of highly talented professionals. It's gone from a kind of a thing of let's just ask the people that kind of know what they're doing because they do it themselves, to qualifications and degrees and really talented people out there doing it. But in the last, I'd say 5 years or so, what's really become apparent to me is the power of communities within those social media platforms. Primarily Facebook groups. That's kind of where I'm at the moment with regards to my work, but also utilizing those online communities to create offline experiences for people, and also just try and drive actual positive change in communities. It's been an exciting ride. I've gone from creating a couple of Facebook groups in 2016 for Canterbury, the city that I live in, to groups that have grown. We've got 37,000 members on Canterbury Residents Group. There's about 5 satellite groups, if you like, sister groups. One called Coronavirus Assistance, for example. And I've sort of been involved with some really exciting projects, some with Facebook themselves, in helping to shape their group's product, and other projects helping organizations like the Joe Koch Foundation, who are all about community, and helping them use online communities like Facebook groups to do what they do. So it's been really exciting times. Lots of opportunities once again for everyone, it's just a really exciting thing to be part of, really.
We will talk about the Canterbury Residents Group a little one, some of the work you've been doing with that during lockdown. But God, hit cast of my back. You mentioned then, Ed, about where you started out, and you probably will not remember this, but when I first started out on radio and I first started going to college, Canterbury College, and Blake remembers this really, really well. I first met you then. So I came for an interview at the Student Republic offices, which used to be above the Sainsbury's. I must have been 17. So that must have been about 8 years ago, 9 years ago. And you were only a small team then, but it was you, Blake, Stewart, and the whole team in there. And you're always very, very welcoming. But there we go. There's one to cast your mind back. I thought I'd just mention that because that was a very, very...
I do have a vague memory of that. Yeah, I do.
I just remember going to the fridge and being absolutely amazed, 17-year-old me, that there was a fridge full of Red Bull. And I was like, yeah, please, I'll have a Red Bull. The cool things you do when you're a student, eh? Also on the show with us, Rachel is the co-founder and director of Westmount Partners and the franchisee of BoConcept in Canterbury. During lockdown, BoConcept actually caught my eye because of the quick adaption they made to make sure that they could continue to serve their customers. And we're going to come on to that in a minute. But first of all, Rachel, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking time out, because I know you've just reopened, haven't you? The store has just reopened in Canterbury.
We have, yes. And likewise, great to be on today. And I have done some work with Ed, so it's good to see his face too. Yeah, we're open. We opened on the 15th of June. Yeah, what we've tried to do actually is create a really beautiful space, but make it safe as well. And that's actually quite tricky. So we're a little bit different to the way we were. We've got shorter hours. And actually, we've reduced down from 7 days a week down to 5. And there's lots of really good reasons around that. But what it does mean is we can control the customers coming into the store a little bit better, and we can create that nice, safe space. So we've also introduced a private appointment system that has been working really well as well. You know, our demographic of our customer tends to be a little bit older. We don't get many teenagers coming into our store, but so they're a bit more conscious of the space. They want to have time. They want to come into a bit of a sanctuary and, you know, continue that really great customer experience that we've been trying to develop over the last couple of years. But yeah, we're open, so come along and see us.
I think it's actually really interesting. Let's actually talk about the reopening of shops, because you're the first person, Rachel, that I've been able to speak to about this, because I haven't sat on the fence at all. I've said, you know, I'm not there yet. I personally, I'm not there yet. But I will be there at some point. What I found interesting is how business owners and shop owners have actually approached all this. And it'd be interesting to hear how you have, because I had a conversation with someone who lives locally to me, who owns a carpet shop. And they've continued actually doing private appointments for 2, 3, 4 weeks now, because it abides by social distancing. It's just one person and them. They've got the hand sanitizer. They've got everything, and they've been really busy. And what he said to me is an old guy, so he doesn't talk in conversions. But what he was saying to me was that actually he is doing more business now with the private appointments than he was doing having a showroom, because that one-on-one customer experience is actually encouraging customers to buy immediately and to actually invest a little bit more in what they're purchasing because of that experience. So do you think that's something that might happen for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in a slightly sad way, the environment we're in actually works to all our strengths in a lot of ways. You know, it was interesting. We've had a huge amount of collaboration right across Canterbury, and, you know, I've got to thank the Business Improvement District. There's the King's Mile Association for retailers. So there's been a lot of collaboration between retailers, just trying to figure out what to do. But for me, you know, our model works very well with this. We engage with every single customer that comes through the door. So you will be welcomed by a member of staff, because our store doesn't look like a normal furniture store. We don't have a row of sofas and a row of this and a row of that. It's about an experience. It's about an environment. So you will be greeted by a member of our team. They are highly trained. Most are interior designers or architects. So you can have a conversation about your project with them, and they will help guide you. And that's really about relationships. It's about really understanding the solution you're trying to give a customer, and that's our strength. I think the other thing is, again, when people make a private appointment, there's a level of intent there.
Yeah.
So I would agree with your carpet guy that when someone's taking the effort to go online, make a booking, or call the store and have a pre-conversation, there is a much bigger intent than just popping in for a browse. So we can prepare before they get there, so we know exactly what they're looking for, and then we can really give them that VIP experience when they do get there. I think that's just so important. It's a different type of retail experience. So we're not, a super transactional business. We're not like an Amazon or a high traffic bricks and mortar store. We're about that retail experience and building a community around the BoConcept brand. So and of course only half of our business is retail. The other half is about the contract side. So we're working with B2B businesses, and we've done a lot of Airbnb and a lot of hotel work, a lot of office work, and that's still going on in the background. So we have opened the store a couple of times to commercial clients that have come in and they want to check something out or something like that.
Yeah.
So we do that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Rachel hit on it there perfectly, Ed, about the customer intent. So now customers, probably 90% of customers who are actually going to visit stores on the high street now are probably going to nitpick where they're going to go and actually have an intention to go and buy a particular product in these high street stores. So obviously the best place you can capture that audience, and especially new customers, is through social media, through digital, isn't it? And to be able to book appointments, to be able to communicate with those people, to be able to highlight products. And of course, where we come in with Facebook groups is it is a great opportunity to engage with a community, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, so you have to drive that intent somehow. Intent is what people are coming with now. People are coming with the decision already made that they're going to buy something, and it's up to the salesperson to upsell or to actually convert. But you have to drive that intent somehow, and the online space is going to be more important than ever to drive that. Facebook groups can be an awesome way to create a sense of community around something. It doesn't always have to be really obvious. So the idea, Rachel was probably sitting there thinking, oh, how can I build a community around a furniture store? That's not quite how it works. You have to kind of think of something to build a community around. Rachel's a great example of somebody who gets involved in community endeavors via her business. So coincidentally, but in a way it's not coincidental at all, because it's Rachel, 2 projects that I have been working on in the past 5 years or so that have been about offering something back to the community, BoConcept have been involved in. So number one is Pride Canterbury, which I was the founding chairman of, and Rachel, BoConcept were a sponsor. They were one of our key sponsors, took out adverts in the program, and made every opportunity open to us to even use their space. So we used also BoConcept as a place where we hosted our pre-Pride drinks reception for all our sponsors. So creating that sense of community happened when they threw open their doors to Pride, physically and also online as well. And another thing that I did recently was the general election broadcasts. So on the Canterbury residents group, I hosted Facebook Live Q&As with each of the parliamentary candidates for Canterbury at the last general election, and the set that we were sitting on and the table I had was all from BoConcept, and so I was able to talk about that on the live stream at the beginning and then the live stream. I gave a shout out to BoConcept, and it's those kind of things which just help to build that sense of community around the store, I think. And so when people think of BoConcept, as Rachel said, it's not a traditional furniture store physically, but also in the customers' minds, it's not a traditional furniture store in any other way. They're getting involved in things in the community. They are, their name is appearing in places that wouldn't necessarily be expected. And so that sense of community doesn't always have to kind of be, encircled in a Facebook group. It can be broader than that. You can actually, bring yourself into other existing things. So like, for example, Pride Canterbury has a Facebook group, and Pride Canterbury has a Facebook page, and Canterbury Residents Group, BoConcept, came into that space via the election broadcasts. So you can think a lot more broadly than just kind of, right, let's create a Facebook group and what do we do with it?
Yeah, and I think that scares some small business owners, doesn't it, Ed? I think some small business owners, they hear people say, you've got to grow your channel, you've got to grow a community, you've got to grow an account. But actually, when it comes to growth and it comes to getting the brand out there, it can be just as effective joining and being a part of, more than having to grow one that's in association with whatever you're trying to sell, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so the clue's in the word community. You've got, a community isn't just you. You've got to draw on other people. You've got to build and help other people build. It doesn't have to be scary. It's about using the resources, which may not be necessarily that obvious to you right now. But when I start a new online project, so for example, recently, using the Facebook groups for Canterbury, we held a fundraiser to raise money for PPE for frontline workers during the coronavirus outbreak. So the original plan was to raise about 300 quid, and there was a guy with a 3D printer, and he would print 3D face shields and we'd donate them. It grew and it grew and it grew, and it grew because I was drawing on resources that were already kind of available to me, people that were in the group, people that had come forward and offered. So it went from quite a small project, having 15 people. We raised £4,500. We created 3,500 pieces of PPE. We had 2 people delivering them, 3 people cleaning them, an accountant, a project manager, a huge number of people working on their 3D printers to print them all. And this all just came from drawing on resources, which were all there, at the beginning. I didn't necessarily have to create things. I just had to draw on existing resources. And that's kind of how you do it. You just kind of, I guess, go with the flow. You kind of just open your mind to working on new projects and new ideas. Rachel's a great example of just saying yes, giving things a punt and having some trust, and it really pays dividends.
Yeah. So on that note, and on obviously the couple of points that we've just spoken on, say for instance, we've got a small business owner, maybe isn't as digitally inept in terms of like using Facebook to its resources, or to use Facebook to its maximum potential, but they need to get online. They need to start understanding digital. They've got a great platform in a Canterbury Residents Group potentially to get involved with and talk about their business and talk about them, their products. What would be your advice to them? How would you tell them to start? How would you tell them to start searching up to try and find these communities to join and be a part of?
So start off by joining Canterbury Residents Group. I know I would say that, but
there's a shameless plug. There is a shameless plug.
and you'll find the kind of the sister groups and things like that spring off it. So one that we have is Canterbury Independent Businesses Group, which is, as it sounds, it's a group, but it's a group for really 2 kind of categories of people: independent businesses in Canterbury and people who want to use independent businesses in Canterbury. And it's a great way just to kind of post plugs about your business once a week in that group. You'll have some friends on Facebook, and some of those friends will be in that group, and they'll get a notification when you post. And that can be a really good way to kind of encourage along a little bit of sharing. Normally when you post on your own profile about your own business, it can kind of fall a bit flat, right? Because either not everyone will see it, or the people that see it won't be interested. They might not live in the same city as you anymore. But the people who are on your friend list that have joined the Canterbury Independent Business Group on Facebook, when you post into that group, they'll get a notification that you posted. So it's a great way to kind of really drive a piece of content on Facebook in a way that you haven't been able to do for years and years and years. And then just kind of, enjoy being a part of the community, take part in other people's posts, lift other people up, and, look for the opportunities to have a conversation with somebody on social media. in our main Facebook group, Canterbury Residents Group, we have a no advertising rule, right? So we have sister groups that have got various relaxed rules around advertising, but in the main group, there's a no advertising rule. But there's not a no PR rule, right? So if your business does something good, does something worthy of talking about, then, you know, worthy of Canterbury residents knowing about, then you can post that into the group. Or even better, one of your customers can post it into the group. We frequently have customers of businesses that have had a great experience come into the group to tell people about their incredible experience. And you know, you can drive that. You can encourage customers to do things like that. You can create special offers for residents. You can get PR in local newspapers and share the link. So yeah, it's just about thinking creatively. You know, if you have an agency, if you know, like for example, if you speak to Digital Beans, these are the sort of guys that can really help you come up with these ideas, because you know, PR is what they do, and they can drive it, and they can help you then spread that message on social media.
Yeah, and I think it's also, you know, important to say out there, this isn't just something that happens in Canterbury either. You know, what's great is if you use the Facebook search function and you've got a store in Whitstable, or you've got a store in Herne Bay or New Romney, wherever, you know, even further up in the UK, you might be in Manchester, you will still be able to find a local residents group. So it's just about using that search function and using the little things that Ed's just said into your, so to speak, strategy when using these forums. Rachel, I want to come over to you. Ed said some lovely words there about how you've contributed with BoConcept within the community. And I want to come back to what I said at the start of the show. I think you guys were one of the first local companies to really go virtual. I know you took up some virtual appointments, and you had a lovely system online where people could view furniture and view potential products. So you want to tell us a little bit about that and how that kicked off?
Yeah, I mean, but honestly, it's a huge compliment for you to say that, because, you know, if you were to talk to my kids, they call me a boomer all the time because I'm so inept with technology. And honestly, I'm not. I've checked the dates, and I was born after that date. But yeah, no, it's a huge compliment. I guess there's a few factors in this. One is the benefit of my experience. And you know, my backstory is I wasn't always a retailer. You know, I've spent the last 30 years being a partner and a director of an international construction consultancy, where I specialised in consulting services in the built environment, and we worked all over the world. So I am very used to talking to people using other methods other than face-to-face meetings. You know, 10 years ago, we had virtual conferencing facilities in the office, so we could engage with our Asia, our European, and you know, US teams all over the world. And I ran a team that was up and down the UK and in Europe. So I was very used to using different methods of communication. So I think that's the first thing. But frankly, do you know what? If a challenge like this comes across, and if you want to continue working with your customers and engaging with clients, you've just got to raise the bar. You've got to figure it out, and you've got to find a way that you can continue that engagement. And that was really the driver for us around digital. And, you know, I can remember a couple of days before we closed, kind of running around just going, okay, what do we do? And there's been a couple of good things. You know, a shout out to my team. They've been absolutely awesome. And, you know, when I sort of walk in there and go, do you know what, guys, we're going to video everything this morning and do a whole load of product information videos, they just went, yeah, let's do it. And just got on board, a little bit of eye rolling, especially when I put them in front of the camera. But, you know, they did that. We videoed the introduction for our new virtual design service, which frankly we should have done last year, because we have all the technology to do that. And, you know, thank goodness for, you know, this stuff, we can do that really easily.
Just on that, Rachel, sorry. So did you do it? Did you use professional cameras or did you use phones? Like, how did you go about that process?
Yeah, and you'll probably be able to tell which is. I have a very talented daughter who is good at video editing as well, so that helps. But no, we used a mix. We have obviously iPhones. We've invested a little bit of really basic kit, the tripods and sticks to help us take out some of the vibration. We got a good quality camera, and then we used professional videographers as well for the stuff that we wanted to get spot on. Because I think it's a mix. My view is some stuff you want it to look super corporate, other stuff you want it just to be really, really quite polished, but a bit more friendly, and then the other stuff, to try and bring out the personalities we've got in the store, and that's when we tend to use the phone for our video stuff.
I think that's great, though. Sorry, Rachel, just about. I think that's great because I think you took a concept and you took an idea and you used what you had to do it. And I think that is so powerful. And I think like that messaging and sort of the way you went about it. And I know when I was in meetings with a bid, they were mentioning about how great it was. And I think you inspired a lot of people by doing that. And I think, there's a bigger conversation after this and after companies like yourself using virtual technologies to be able to bring your products to life online and using e-commerce potentially, where it can be for businesses. Do you think business owners like you and yourself are looking at digital a little bit differently now after the lockdown and how you can use it for your business?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a tricky one because we are, our concept is all about relationships. It's about working with our customers. And, it's quite difficult to do that 100% virtually. We know about 80% of our customers actually visit the website before coming in. So they've already done a bit of research. We don't actually sell an awful lot online, certainly not in Canterbury. And that was actually one of the things that attracted me to the franchise brand, was that we didn't have a huge online capability, or we chose not to. So the website's really to drive traffic to the store. Now, obviously in the new world, that changes again. But if I look at our customers, they're busy people. We have clients who are investors and buying investment properties that want us to fit it out. We have people that have second homes. We have people that just frankly work during the day, and who has time to go to a furniture store, and maybe they don't want to spend the weekend in a furniture store. So and then of course we've got people coming down from London and moving down to Kent. So they can't always get to the store anyway. So I think what this has opened, the tools we've developed over the period, and just frankly practicing it, has allowed us to open the door and actually be more accessible for our customers. Now, at some point, they will want to come into the store and they want to touch things and sit in things and, get a bit more, use the five senses there. But we can get an awful long way down the road without doing that. And I think that just opens up a whole new customer base to us that perhaps they couldn't, they didn't know about. And then you go on to the contract side, and then all the Zoom calls we've been on. And it's been awesome. And, I've met so many great businesses over the last, 12 weeks that I wouldn't have met before. Because they're based in Sevenoaks, or they're based in, Tunbridge Wells, and they just never get to Canterbury. So that's been great too. And then, of course, we've got all the social media, Facebooks and Instagrams and things. But I think we were kind of strong on. I do want to talk to Ed about community, though, and how we build up our Facebook community on there. So that would be really interesting.
Hey, look at that. Networking through a live show. I love that. This could be something that's in the future as well. I mean, amazing there, Ed, actually, to hear from Rachel a little bit about how business owners are going to adapt digitally now. Just from you, someone who's in the digital landscape and who owns and runs a big community on Facebook. How important are these methods going to be moving forward, especially in this COVID world that we're all going to be living in for the foreseeable future?
So engagement-wise, the lockdown generated the same level of engagement the day after lockdown as the day before the general election in 2019. So the day before the general election in 2019, Canterbury Residents Group had, I think it was just over 450 posts. And that was kind of like a rising average. So, you know, about a week before that, it was 350 posts a day. Then, you know, and it rose all the way up to 450 posts the day before the general election. After the general election, it dropped off. It dropped down back to our kind of normal average of about 200 posts a day. And that was steady. It dropped off for Christmas. What peaceful times it was, you know, and we look back now and we kind of think, well, general election was really easy compared to what happened on the Facebook group during the coronavirus outbreak, which was all of a sudden everyone found themselves at home, fully locked down, and they turned to their social media to keep in touch with people and keep in touch with their community. And of course, you know, it's similar to the kind of like usage of transport charts that we're seeing. You know, it kind of is beginning to kind of drop, but it certainly looks like we reached a level of engagement, a high level of engagement, and we're now kind of going to be staying above what we were. So we're now averaging about 300 posts a day, where I would have expected by now it to drop to about 250. So the community of Canterbury are using Facebook groups, and there's a huge one, you know, there's a huge variety of them out there as well. It's not just Canterbury Residents Group. There's niche groups for people who are interested in nature in Canterbury. There's groups for people who want to look after specific areas of Canterbury. There's groups for people who, you know, I'm a member of so many different Facebook groups, not just Canterbury ones for, I have a pond in the back garden, quite new, and so I joined a Facebook group for people who look after ponds and look for all kinds of advice on that. So there really is one for everything. And you can create a Facebook group around your business, and you know, you can just start that Facebook group. You can call it, you know, My Business's Facebook group, and you can add as many customers as you know. And that is literally the best way to start. However, you then need to start thinking about strategy and thinking about how you're going to build that community. It doesn't differ too much if you've done it from working on, you know, a brand strategy for your social media. Except with a community strategy, you've really got to think of the relationships that people have between each other, and not just necessarily the relationships that people have with you and your business. Because you want a community to eventually become somewhat self-running, somewhat kind of self-perpetuating. You want people to add their friends. You want people to make contacts and make friends within your group. And so you just need to think a bit more carefully about how your clients or your customers interact with their friends, and how you can, you know, encourage them to bring their friends into the fold. Lots and lots of businesses have got some, you know, really easy products that all immediately have a sense of community around them. I recently started drinking a thing called Huel. I don't know if you heard of Huel. It's like a
Pip RMD is all over it. He's lost so much weight drinking it, and having the bars, because you can get bars as well, can't you?
You get bars, yeah. So essentially it's like a food replacement thing. It's like a meal in a shaker or a meal in a bar, and it's fully vegan as well, which is great. And you can tell I'm already kind of like evangelizing for it. And one of the reasons for that is because I've joined a Facebook group for people who you know, use this product. And because it's a product which is, you know, very much a lifestyle product, it's something which is designed to kind of help you make, you know, changes to your lifestyle. It's, you know, whether that's you wanting to introduce a vegan element to your food, or a faster way of eating, or lose weight, or all these other things, you know, that very much can be a part of your life. And so joining a community of other people who are also making this change, that's another thing I think that helps build a community. When your customers are making a change, when you're encouraging them to change to your product, you know, making a change to something like one meal a day, which is what I do with Huel, can be quite daunting. It can be quite isolating, especially if your family members aren't also doing it. And so, you know, using a community to help people find other people that are also doing the same thing as you can be really useful. Immediately off the top of my head, I'm thinking with the furniture concept and what Rachel was talking about. She said there about how a lot of Rachel's clients fall into this kind of bracket, maybe Airbnb owners, second property investors, that kind of thing. They immediately spring to mind as the sort of people that like to talk to each other. That is very much kind of a world of networking and a world of people sharing resources with each other. So sometimes it's about highlighting who your audience are and not necessarily trying to corral them around your product, but trying to corral them around what they already do and allowing your business to be the platform that, to provide that platform for them to do that on. And that can have really positive outcomes.
Yeah, no, definitely. That is actually really good advice. You've got to remember who your audience is, and you've got to remember how they communicate and how they will communicate with what you're doing, and that is so important. Guys, we're gonna have to move on. Make sure you hit subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, by the way. We're halfway to our target now, so make sure you hit subscribe and keep on sharing the channel with people. Josh is going to be on in a second with our 90-second tip. Before we go over to Josh, Rachel, thank you for coming on. Where can people find out more about you and potentially check out BoConcept and where to find you in Canterbury too?
Yeah, I mean, we're in Orange Street in Canterbury, but if you check us out on Facebook at BoConcept we're also on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and we do have a fabulous website as well, which is www.boconcept.com. That is the global website, but you'll find Canterbury in there. But yeah, just engage with us on Facebook, and our doors are always open.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, we get a lot of architecture students coming in, or people just love design. So please don't feel obviously we'd like you to buy something, but we're more than that. Picking up Ed's point about community, we love people to come in and talk about great design with us.
Yeah, no, amazing. Thank you, Rachel. We're definitely going to have to catch up soon when we've got some more time. There's a number of things that I could continue speaking to you about, but we unfortunately have to move on. It's so sad when you get in the middle of a conversation, then you have to move the show on. I don't like that. How did James Corden feel at the Brits that time when he had to tell Adele to basically shut up? I don't know how he done it. Ed, let's come over to you, mate. Where can people find out more about you? And obviously, if you're a resident of Canterbury, where can they come and join the group?
So Canterbury Residents Group on Facebook, just hit join and you'll be welcome to join us. If you want to follow along with my projects and the things that I'm doing, then come to my profile on Facebook and click follow. I post all sorts of controversial nonsense as well as useful updates and things about the projects that I'm doing. So it'd be great to have you following me, and you never know, I might lean on you one day to provide something on a project I'm working on that will hopefully have positive outcomes for yourself too.
Amazing. Ed, Rachel, thank you very much, guys. Thank you for being a part of the show today, and we'll speak to you guys soon, definitely. Once again, make sure you hit subscribe on the YouTube channel because it is now time for our 90-second tip. And see, the thing with Josh is he loves having his lunch like at dead on 1 o'clock. So we need to get this over.
Right now.
You're not having your lunch right now.
It's not 1 o'clock yet, is it? It's got 20 minutes till lunch.
We've got to be quick with this then, because I know that you love hitting that lunch break. How you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, all good. Looking forward to this. So I don't know if you saw the show on Tuesday, but we had Roxana in a 90-second tip talking about how you can estimate how much money you might need to spend on Facebook ads to get the clicks and the engagement that you need through the post. And today, focusing again on Facebook ads, we're going to be talking about copy, right?
Yeah, correct. So essentially what I have been trying to do with more clients now, it really depends on the project you're kind of working on, is to essentially when you start out with a new client, you'll end up having different copy that you'll use in your Facebook ads. And so that can be typically quite time consuming. So Facebook have now, it's not relatively new, but they've added a feature called dynamic creative, which allows essentially Facebook to kind of mix and match different bits of copy that you give it, and then it will start to kind of go towards what's working best, whereas typically you'd normally have to write out a bunch of static ads and hope for the best that they would work. So yeah, that's what I'm going to show you today.
The Facebook Business Manager and ad platform is just...
Do you know what? Since I started using it, probably about 2015, it's just grown and grown and grown so much. It's It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's massive, and the things you can do for it as well. Like as you say, especially if you're looking to do some ads yourself, and you're looking to put a little bit of money towards ads, this could really help you out. So, if you want to share your screen with me, Josh, I'm going to put 90 seconds on the clock. Of course, we've got a full. See, I've got my window open, and the curtain keeps blowing over the camera here. This is how professional we are. So we have got a full playlist on how to level up your digital marketing strategy on our YouTube channel. So make sure you hit subscribe, go check it out. Loads in there about Facebook ads, estimating CPCs. We've got loads on there about video and content creation as well, which could also help your ads too. So there we go, Josh, we've got your screen up. I'm going to start the timer now.
Right, so when you go into Facebook, you're obviously going to build your campaign. So you'll give it a campaign name, and then you'll give it a campaign objective. So that's traffic, conversions. Obviously set that up accordingly. Then you're going to go into your ad group and obviously give it a name. So we're going to call this remarketing, just for demo purposes. And then we're going to go to click dynamic creative. This is really important, otherwise the fields won't show up. So click that, say yes, that's fine. Obviously set your budget, set your targeting, and then head off to your ad. And here's a slight one I've made earlier with a beautiful picture of Ben Pierce that should come up any second now. There we go.
Wow, that is a beautiful picture.
In all of his beauty. Okay, so basically what you're going to do is you're going to go down to here, and you're going to type in your primary text. So this will be the main text in the ad. So, hi, my name is Ben, for example. And then you'll add another option. And then you go, hello, mine. Essentially just trying out different types of creatives. Different types of ad copy, and then you'll do it for headline, same test, and then sorry, Facebook Business Manager, a bit laggy. Then digitalbeans.agency, obviously, for the URL.
Only a poor woman blames his tools.
Yeah, right. Cool. Okay, so and then what you'll do is you'll just simply add more options.
Okay.
And what Facebook will do is essentially once you've submitted it, essentially it will start to work with different ads.
Oh, cool. So there you go, right in the 90 seconds. So basically what it does is it helps you build multiple campaigns and see what they look like before going live.
Multiple ads with multiple different creatives, essentially, yeah. So Facebook will test which one's working best, and then we'll start to optimize towards those going forward.
That's incredible, because in the past you just used to have to set up a number of campaigns and you'd have to do them individually, and now it's all under one blanket, so to speak.
Exactly, yeah. So typically you'd have your campaign, and then you have your ad group, and then you'd have multiple ads. You could have up to, like, you could have probably hundreds in some big agencies. I've seen ones with hundreds in them of just different variations of copy in ads, essentially. So all you need to do is just add different layers of copy, and it will mix and match them accordingly, and then start optimize. This algorithms will start optimizing towards what you're going for. Amazing.
And these options are just setting up standard ads. It appears, and you just have to click obviously the plus button, and then it comes down.
Exactly.
Amazing, Josh. What an amazing tip. Thank you for that, mate. And you smashed it in 90 seconds as well.
Just about.
Just about. I mean, you got there though. We're happy that you did get there. Now, I made a big mistake at the end of the last show with Roxana when she finished her 90-second tip. I said the guest that we're meant to have on today, and I said the wrong guest, so I have to apologise to that. I actually said the guests that are going to be on the next show, on the last show, which is really bad of me, because I knew we had Rachel and Ed coming up. I just had a really blank, mind-numbing moment. Can we blame the sun? Is that allowed?
No.
I think we can.
It is hot though. My laptop just, like, whilst I was doing that demo, my laptop sounded like it was about to take off.
I've got a fan hitting me. I was telling Rachel before we went live, I've got a fan literally over there.
Yeah.
So I know that by the time I finished at 5 o'clock down, I'm going to feel like I've been punched in this side of the face about 20 times, and the other side of my face will be fine.
Life of a radio presenter, eh?
Exactly, mate. Well, on the show on Tuesday, Stephen, who's the exhibition guy, we're going to be talking to him about exhibiting in a virtual world and what's going to happen with exhibits moving forward. And we've got a guy who loves posting on LinkedIn, giving out his advice and his opinions. He's going to be on this show giving his opinions. Jack Gaisford's going to be on with us. So really looking forward to that show. Make sure you join us on Tuesday. Hit that subscribe button. But for now, from me, for Josh, bye-bye. Enjoy the sun, people.